Good morning. Let me introduce you to the vagus nerve. Goes to the throat, the lungs and the heart, spleen, liver. I'm going to lift this up. Kidneys. I think that yellow stuff up there represents the adrenal gland on top of the kidneys. You got the stomach and you got the lower intestines, as you can see. And the vagus nerve is called that because it's derived from a Latin term meaning wanderer. This is a meandering, wandering nerve that traverses all the way from here all the way down through some very important places in our thorax, through our rib cage. Now I want you to pay attention to the heart and the lungs. What happens when we get wound up and anxious? Our breath gets shallow and quick and our heart starts to beat faster, right? When that starts to happen, it prompts the body to get even more wound up, and we end up in fight or flight, right? Imagine that you're working in your office or working somewhere, and all of a sudden the walls start to close in on you, and the room gets smaller and smaller and smaller. You start to feel cornered. What's going to happen? You're going to start to, right? And you're not going to be doing your job very well, are you? In a very tight space. Same thing with the organs in our rib cage. Chest, rib cage, thorax, abdomen. If that office space narrows, those organs are going to feel pinned and cornered. And guess what's going to happen when the heart feels pinned and cornered? It's going to go like this, right? What happens to the lungs? They're going to breathe shallow, right? And breathe faster, creating that cycle of fight or flight. So you're having a rough day, maybe you're a little tense, maybe you got triggered, maybe you just have a really busy day and you're tense and your rib cage is being compressed downward toward the hips and inward toward the spine. Your lower rib cage as well is being compressed downward toward the hips and inward toward the spine. Because it's natural defense mechanism. That's a natural defense mechanism in the body. When we're feeling under threat, doesn't matter what, could be the smallest little thing, the body doesn't understand. It just knows there's some sort of perceived threat. It will compress us and push us down to protect as much as it can. Look at my posture. See the shoulders up, neck's tight, shoulder blades are up, right? So this might eventually cause my vagus nerve to get pinched off in there somewhere, one of its narrow tunnels that it has to get through. If that tunnel narrows because everything's being squished, and if that nerve gets aggravated from being too tightly pressed onto, that's going to cause even more heart and lung stuff to happen. It's going to cause a bit more anxiety to ramp up. And eventually, if things get tight enough in there, if they get tight enough, we can faint. But breathing is the biggest thing. You feel like you can't take a breath. You feel like you're about to go into panic, and it's so quick. Where did that come from? And you're sweating, and you're chilled, and you're having a hard time breathing, and your heart's going, and you're like, what? And your stomach's probably upset. You're like, what is going on? It might be posture. So before you do anything else, you might try putting your hands on the desk or the table, wherever you are, and the chest comes up and release. Up and release. Just something to try, just some education. Up and release. If you've got big anxiety, see somebody. Maybe simple, may not be. But posture can contribute to anxiety. So I call it opening up the rib cage. Open up the rib cage. Allow for tons of space for the heart, lungs, and vagus nerve to do what they need to do in the day. We want the chest to come up and forward. Exhale. Okay, inhale, chest comes up and forward. Exhale. Lower rib cage, up and forward. Exhale. Rib cage, up and forward. Exhale. This takes a lot of practice, but notice that as the rib cage and the chest come upward and forward, the shoulder blades automatically slide downward, down toward the hips. Those shoulder muscles and neck muscles can start to release. There's less neck and shoulder tension. Wouldn't that be awesome? Totally. And our whole body just looks a little bit more confident, doesn't it? Don't mess with me. My chest is up. My shoulders are back and down. My shoulders and neck muscles are more relaxed. My chest is up. You don't want to mess with me. Not right now. You don't look vulnerable. Just a nice bonus to opening up the rib cage and freeing up that wandering vagus nerve. Have a great day.